Have you ever had the thought that just maybe the media wasn't telling the truth? Or maybe that they were telling the truth, but they were twisting the data in such a way so that the truth wasn't apparent? Not necessarily lying, right? But twisting it in such a way. Think of kids with their parents, the media with the American public. That is what's going on right now. I've got a 5-factor model here where we go in and take a look at what is actually going on between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. This is specifically related to YouTube, but we release one every single day, but Sunday, Instagram, Twitter, Google search volume, YouTube search volume, etc., one every single day. So make sure you press that subscribe button and the bell notification so YouTube can notify you when I drop the videos. But what the media says and what is happening in reality, two completely different things. Now, with that being said, this is your first time here. What's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, it's good to freaking see you. Okay, so over here on the left, we have Real Clear Politics, and every single poll that's essentially come out since March has had Biden leading. Interesting, right? And you can see the sample sizes here. We're around 1,000 for a lot of them. There's a couple here that are 2,500 and 2,800. And this is what the media reports on as being representative of what the American public thinks. The sample size here from ABC News of 673 people, the media reports as being representative of what the collective thinks. Yeah, there's 330 million people in America. So I designed this 5-factor model that I'm using on YouTube, the second largest site in the planet, to understand who is actually winning here. So we're going to go through each one of those factors. We have the total number of subscribers gained over the last 30 days for each one of their channels on YouTube, the total number of views on their channel over the last 30 days, the total number of search volume for YouTube, Donald Trump YouTube, Joe Biden YouTube, the total number of views on other people who are putting out content for them, right? That has Donald Trump in the title, Joe Biden in the title, or their likeness in the thumbnail, and the total number of actual influencers who are putting out content for these people in the last hour to get a gauge of like the understanding of the pulse of what's actually happening. And when you look at the aggregate, there's millions of data points here versus 2,800 at best. So you get a much better representation with a lot more data to understand what is going on. Let's get into it. So we start with Social Blade. So this Social Blade is a social tracking site where you get to see different social profiles and different platforms and understand what is actually going on in terms of number of views in this case on YouTube. So what we did is we can see here that there's 36,000 subscribers over the last 30 days, and Joe Biden, if we take a look at his YouTube channel over the last 30 days. And at the end, we're going to actually do a deep dive into each one of their channels specifically, because there's something very, very interesting about Joe Biden's channel. He's beating Donald Trump in one metric, and then on the other one is a little bit strange. I don't understand what's going on, and I'd like to know what your guys' thoughts are on that when we get to that point. But we can see that there's 21,400 new subscribers over here. So let's take a look at that category. We can see that Trump is easily winning, right? There's a total of 56,000 roughly data points here, and there's more people following Trump than there is Joe Biden, but that's not reported in the data. And you might be like, well, Sam, I don't like Trump and I still follow his YouTube channel. Cool. Awesome. I don't understand necessarily the full logic of like paying attention to somebody you don't care about, but teach their own. Let's move on to the next data point. So this is the only category that Joe Biden seems to have really, really substantially gained in. If we look here, Donald Trump had almost 4.5 million views over the last 30 days, and Joe Biden had almost 6.1 million views. So about 1.6 million more views on his YouTube channel than Trump, which I thought was kind of interesting because the last three times that we've done this, you can check out the channel. Donald Trump has won by a pretty substantial margin. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and the trend over the last 2 weeks have been down for Biden. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then you look, there's a couple videos with Obama in them, and those videos garnered a substantial amount of the attention there. But still, it is helpful if that is the case, and they're like. That should be implemented more into strategy to get more attention if they like plan on actually like, yeah, I don't think they're gonna win, but if they plan on gaining more attention, because attention, my friends, is the currency. You need attention to do anything. If you want to have an impact in the world, you need attention. If you want money, you need attention, right? Like if you're trying to sell something and you want money, you need attention. You're trying to do fucking anything, you need attention, right? You want to raise at work, you want to be able to work at home and not go back to an office, right? You need your boss's attention to be like, hey, bro, I'm going to work at home, and you need to be able to do that. So, in this category, we can see that Biden wins, right? So we have one for Donald Trump and one for Joe Biden at this point. The next is the total amount of search volume. So this is the number one site in the planet. And this is people searching for Donald Trump YouTube. So the phrase Donald Trump YouTube and Joe Biden YouTube, who is getting more of those? And we can see where Trump is blue and Biden is red, that the blue is ahead the vast majority of the time over the last 30 days. There's a spike right here. So I was wondering what was going on with this spike. And it appears that there's a show called Breakfast Club or something where the guy is just like calling out Joe Biden, like shut the fuck up, basically. I think that was actually that's a quote from the show. And you get to see the breakdown by actual state, by the states here, which, but remember, red is for Joe Biden and blue is for Donald Trump. So you can see this is 50-50, but it might be like 50 point something and 49 point something rounded up because Biden is winning this. And you can see, even in California, all of them, there's a lot more blue for Donald Trump than there is Joe Biden. But when you look at the data and you compare those two, we have 61.5% of all the searches going to Donald Trump versus 38% for Joe Biden. Kind of interesting. About 1.65 times as many searches. So for every 165 searches there is for Trump, there's about 100 searches for Joe Biden. A pretty big difference there. But interesting thing for Joe Biden too, and this might have to do with the views as well, because if we look at these, Joe Biden's doing something. They're doing something here, and I don't know if the connotations is like negative or positive, but we can see that Joe Biden, in terms of the number of subscribers, he was sitting at around 14,000 on average for the whole month of July, and then jumped up to 21,000. That 21,000 probably mainly due to Barack going on there, and then the same thing for the views. But also the search volume. So the percentage of the total amount of search volume for those two phrases, he's jumped up. So in all three of those categories that we've covered so far, he's jumped up. He's still trailing significantly behind Trump. But let's move on to the last two factors. So this next factor is, and this is actually on the YouTube search. So when you go to YouTube search, there's a filter you can click. So you can click the filter, you can do this month and videos, and then view count. So what that will do is sort all the videos that come up based upon the total number of view count and that time period that you selected. So when we do that, we add up the total amount of views for each one of these in terms of the last 10, so the top 10 videos over the last 30 days. And we can see that there's almost 31 million views for Trump over the last 30 days. So he's gained about 2 million views since last week on the those top 10 videos, where Biden has gained just marginally. which is interesting. And as I mentioned earlier, you have to have the candidate's name in the title and or their likeness in the thumbnail. So if somebody said like Sleepy Joe or something, I would count that. Or if somebody said like, you know, racist Trump, I would count that. You know what I mean? Just because it's not positive or negative. This is just a total amount of awareness for each one of these candidates, right? So then the next, which I find is super interesting, because this is what actually requires a tremendous amount of work involved here, is when you search for Joe Biden, you can search again for over the last hour how many videos were released. And we get to see, this is an indicator of how many people are actually talking about these candidates, right? Because there's something called the familiarity bias, which essentially in psychology, when people are more familiar with something, when there's a decision that has to be made, they're just going to make that decision. Why do you think people buy Tide in the grocery store? Because the brand name associated with the detergent called Tide is much more familiar than some other brand that I can't even think of, right? So the decision for a consumer, or whether it's a vote or whether it is money related or anything else, is gonna default, right, to the people on the margin. It's going to default to the familiarity bias, which means that people who are more familiar with a candidate, or in this case a brand, as we were talking about with detergent, right, they're going to default to that. So those people who are sitting on the line are just going to default in that direction. So when you have other people who are also presenting more information, and it can be positive or negative, the familiarity bias doesn't matter. It's just familiarity. That's why it's called a familiarity bias. You can Google that. And you can see that it's 2.5 to 1. So that means there's over the last hour, this is over a single hour when I did the research here, there was 25 different videos released in 1 hour that had Trump in the title or the thumbnail, or both, versus 10 for Joe Biden. So he's winning in those categories. So when you tally this all up, we can see that Joe Biden won one category and Trump won 4 categories. So what is actually going on here, right? Because when we look at this, the media purports this as being accurate representation of what the world thinks, or what the United States thinks. And the US has 300 million people in it. And this has sample sizes of 1,200 people, 900 people, 1,100 people, 2,500 people. This is a tiny, tiny, tiny little fraction of, it's like 0.00000. That's that before you get to a number of the actual population size. So there's 328, 329 million people in the US, and it's a tiny, tiny fraction of the sample size of the United States, versus we've got a lot of different data points here. A lot of different data points. When we looked at the Instagram rankings, you can also see that if you look at the Donald Trump app in the Google Play Store, which is the #1 operating system in the United States in terms of the percentage of people who have it, versus Joe Biden's, we can see Joe Biden's app has been downloaded like 10,000 plus times, versus Donald Trump's is 500,000 plus times. And there's a big discrepancy in terms of the total number of reviews on Joe Biden's versus the total number of reviews on Donald Trump. So there's something going on here, right, that the media is not going to tell you, right? Because their North Star is not the truth. They are definitely not trying to give the American public the truth. That is very, 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 very low on their totem pole. It's maybe one of the things that they're actually trying to not do, right? So in this section here, I just wanted to go into a deep dive into their actual channels here and show you that interesting thing that I mentioned earlier, because this is very interesting. We're going to take a look at the likes to dislikes ratio. We're going to take a look at the total number of videos that were released, and we're going to take a look at the comments here. But first, if you enjoy this video, make sure you share it with somebody. Spread the message of what is actually going on, because the media is not going to tell the truth of what is actually going on. We have to do that ourselves. And this is the first time in history where we have a voice, and it's not through the media. The truth will be able to rise the less censorship there is. And there's censorship on every single platform. There's censorship on every single platform. You can check the Twitter video, and I show you evidence of that. You can check the Facebook video. I have evidence on that. Go back to the channel, watch both of those videos. There's people at Facebook who are actively censoring anything related to Trump. There's people at Twitter who are doing exactly the same thing. And then you have this stuff with QAnon that Twitter just said that they're going to start banning anything that's related to QAnon. You can look at QAnon.app for the releases from QAnon. But the idea that you can just go through and censor somebody whose opinion you just don't like. Well, let's say we don't agree with flat Earth people, but we don't fucking censor those people. Like the logic is so like it's just so backwards. So make sure you press the subscribe button and that bell notification so you can get Monday's drop as soon as it releases. And share this video with somebody so you can spread the truth. Now, let's look at the deep dive of their YouTube channel. So this is the latest video from Donald Trump's channel here, right? And we get to see that there's 370 likes on the video and 54 dislikes on the video. Let's take a look. This is the latest video from both of these channels. However, the Trump channel is putting out way more work. So as we get into this, you have to be able to have an audience attention, right? That's what I talked about, attention being the currency. Well, in order to get attention, you have to be able to communicate clearly, and you have to be able to communicate with your audience. And if you're putting out, like Joe Biden put out this video, and it was on the 22nd, I think it was, or 23rd, today's the 25th, that you got to talk to your audience every single day. I got to talk to your audience every single day. It's just, it's a matter of, this is 2020. You need to communicate with your audience, especially if you're trying to run for president. And I think that just more communication is going to be better. So we see that the like to dislike ratio here is what, 7-to-1 or something like that, versus over here, it's 1,000 likes to 800 dislikes. Kind of interesting. But what Joe Biden is doing well, that Donald Trump is not doing well, if you go to their descriptions, right? So if you go down to the description section of this video, you can jump over to Instagram or Twitter and say what's good, or you can copy the video and then jump over to Twitter and share it on Twitter and tag me and I'll reshare it. But over here, we just have a quick little blurb, right? And then a hashtag. But there's no way for people to go to the description of this video and then go find Trump on Twitter, go find Trump on Instagram, go find Trump on Facebook, go to his website and give him more money, right? But there is on Joe Biden's. Like, this is a good thing for Joe Biden. If Trump wants additional money, wants additional attention, wants to be able to communicate with their audience better, then that needs to be in the video here, not like what it is here. This is just a huge missed opportunity, a big missed opportunity here. But what is super interesting that I want to talk about, let's scroll down to the comments section here. This is, oh, wait, I don't know if you can see this, but the comments are turned off on Joe Biden's video. Maybe that's because it has 1,000 likes and 818 dislikes. Something's going on here, because when we go over to Donald Trump's video, the comments are on, right? But over here on Joe Biden's video, the comments are turned off. So let's go check another video, and I haven't done this yet. This is actually I'm doing this live. So let's go over to, this is 2 days ago. So let's go to this video with Barack here. Again, it's about 2/3, right? So there's 678 thumbs up and 410 dislikes. So that's kind of interesting. They have the comment section or the description line up good. But comments are shut off. Huh, interesting. Why does Joe Biden have the comments shut off? Because if you're trying to communicate with the public, you want dialogue with the public, whether it's between you and the public, whether you can go back and forth, right? You could hire somebody to literally go back and forth in the comment section to answer questions, to facilitate stuff, to create more engagement, which is not happening because they're just shut off. And maybe it's because a lot of people are disliking the videos, and I think obviously this is probably a big opportunity for the Trump videos too. But let's go back on the Trump channel here and take a look at the second. Also, the amount of content that the Trump channel is putting out versus what is getting put out on the Joe Biden channel is like stupid. This is like over the last 48 hours, I think there was 36 or so videos put out on the Trump channel versus 0 on the fucking Joe Biden channel. Like, you need to step up the volume of communication there. So again, look at this. It's got a 10% dislike ratio versus like this. It's got a 60% dislike ratio. Kind of interesting, right? And let's make sure the comments are on this video. Yep, the comments are on this video. So kind of interesting what is going on here, right? They also don't have the description set up on this video. So this is definitely a big opportunity for the Trump campaign to actually put something in here so that people can go to the description and then go to where they need to go, because this is a big missed opportunity, especially when you're putting out 36 videos a day. That's awesome, but you're still missing out on all the attention from people that do trickle down. There's going to be some percentage of people who go down there. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are down below in the comment section. Let's create the most accurate representation of what is going on in the American public. So make sure you press that subscribe button. Make sure you press that bell notification so YouTube will notify you next time I drop a video, which is going to be Monday. I appreciate you guys. Peace.